Here's something that'll alter your thinking, Sam. America had 7 presidents before we finally got one who was actually born in America. Martin Van Buren was our first true American born president, and his story significantly alters how we perceive the early days of our democracy.
That's a fascinating detail about our history. And he wasn't just any political figure. He earned this incredible nickname, the Little Magician, for his behind the scenes mastery of politics.
You know what's even more interesting? Sam. He grew up speaking Dutch at home in Kinderhook, New York. The nickname Old Kinderhook actually might be where we get the phrase okay from. He was basically living proof of America's immigrant story right there in the White House.
So, how did someone from such humble beginnings become Andrew Jackson's right hand man, Pappy?
Well, that's where his political genius really showed. He essentially invented modern political organizing, creating networks of loyal supporters, coordinating between state and national parties, and utilizing newspapers strategically. He was playing 3D chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
That makes it even more interesting that his presidency encountered such significant problems.
The Panic of 1837 was akin to an economic hurricane. We're talking about unemployment hitting 25% in some areas, 343 banks closing in just 2 months, and cotton prices dropping by 25%. And here's the really ironic part: most of it was caused by his mentor, Jackson's policies.
That must have been like watching your mentor set your house on fire and then hand you the keys.
Exactly. His solution was quite revolutionary for the time. He created the independent treasury system, which completely separated government finances from those of private banks. Think about it. This was basically the great grandfather of our Federal Reserve System.
But that wasn't enough to save his presidency.
Not even close. The Whigs absolutely destroyed him in the 1840 election, running this brilliant campaign that painted him as an out of touch aristocrat. The irony is that their candidate, William Henry Harrison, was actually from a wealthy family, while Van Buren grew up in a tavern.
That sounds remarkably similar to modern political messaging.
It really does. And here's where his story gets even more fascinating. After his presidency, he completely reinvented himself. In 1848, he ran as the Free Soil Party candidate, specifically opposing the expansion of slavery. This was the same person who had been the ultimate insider in the Democratic Party.
That's quite a transformation. What drove that change?
Well, by that point, he had seen how the slavery issue was tearing the country apart. The Free Soil Party actually garnered about 10% of the vote in that election, which was a significant showing for a third party. And while he didn't win, his campaign helped lay the groundwork for the Republican Party.
Looking at his whole career, what do you think is his most relevant lesson for today?
I think it's how the systems and institutions we create can have these massive unintended consequences. Van Buren helped build this potent party system that eventually contributed to the Civil War, but at the same time, that same system helped preserve the Union.
So he was both a master of the system and ultimately its victim.
Exactly. And when he died in 1862, he had lived long enough to see the beginning of the Civil War. The very conflict that the political system he helped create both contributed to and ultimately helped resolve. It's a reminder that even the most skilled political operators can't always control the forces they set in motion.
That's quite a legacy to consider.
And here's what really stays with me. Van Buren's story shows how innovation in politics, just like in technology or business, can have ripple effects that last for generations. The party system he helped create, the independent treasury concept, even his later stance against slavery's expansion, all of these things shaped American history in ways he probably never imagined.